Hello everyone. Hope you're finding the content on this channel useful. So we're back with another video, and in this video we would be discussing my friend's experience while applying for his master's degree, and it would be really useful for someone who aspires to pursue his master's degree from US. And as I said, I'm joined by my friend Vaibhav Kumar today. I'll give you a very quick intro of Vaibhav. So he has received admits from multiple universities for this fall semester, and he would be joining UCLA for completing his master's in computer science. And Vaibhav has a lot of research experience. I mean, he has a great rank on Kaggle, as well as he's one of the very few people from India who have publication in TACL, which is a very renowned journal. And I mean, you should definitely read his paper, which talks about mitigating bias in NLP. So, yeah, and Vaibhav also has corporate experience of working as a data scientist. So, I feel that his experience would be really valuable for everyone. So, yeah. Hello, Vaibhav. I hope
Yeah,
I covered everything.
yeah. Hi, thank you for having me, and I'm really humbled by that introduction. So thank you.
Yeah, you deserve that. I mean, the real struggle is calling you Vaibhav and not by your nickname.
Yeah, thank you for keeping up with that.
Sure. So the main motive of the video was to share all the information about MS as well as Weber's key learning related to all the opportunities, challenges, requirements, timelines, and everything that would come to your mind when you're applying for MS. And we always wished we knew all this when we were in our second year. The process would have been much faster and smoother for us. So we're making this video now. So just in case if there's someone who's in our place, they might find it useful. And as I said, we will be discussing a lot of things as we go. So I'll provide the timestamps for all the things in the description just in case you want to skip and jump to relevant section, so you can do that. So yes, let's begin with today's video. Now, the one thing is that so all of us in general, when we join our college, we have no plans as such. So the main idea was to try everything, do different things throughout our 4 years, and then try to figure out what we actually like, and then pursue that after college. So, Vaibhav, how exactly did you get motivated to pursue research, or what got you excited in the first place?
So in my case, getting into research was a very chance encounter. So it was during my second year in DTU. I was sitting in the cafeteria with one of my friends, and he had planned out all his research and everything. He had plans for pursuing PhD, and he just came up to me and started explaining one of his papers. So it was about applying reinforcement learning in operating systems. And at that time, I had some experience in AI. I mean, I had read about supervised learning, unsupervised, and a bit about reinforcement learning, but I didn't have any research experience. So when he told about his paper, I was kind of fascinated on it. And at the end of the discussion, he asked me if I would like to contribute something to it, but I didn't know much. So he gave me a list of courses by some professors in Arizona State University. So I went through that course and basically learned about reinforcement learning. And then I started working on a paper with that friend, and that was my first research experience. So overall, I would say it was just a chance encounter. I didn't have any plans to pursue masters, or I didn't have any plans in life in general until second year. Yeah, so it was just a chance encounter, and I think it was one of the best things that has happened to me.
Right. So you were motivated by someone else, but then when you started it, you really enjoyed it, and
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I knew that machine learning and AI are like an upcoming field. So I like before the encounter, I read a little about. I mean, I attended the fast.ai course, so I knew about basics of machine learning and I knew about basics of Python. But This was the first research experience I had.
Okay, right. And when did you actually decide that you would be pursuing your masters after your bachelor's? So like you started research, but the idea that now I definitely have to do masters. This is my thing. So when did that happen?
So, like, it was the same day that I was introduced to this idea. So, my friend told me that he has plans of pursuing a PhD after his like bachelor's. And at that point, I didn't decide that I'll be doing a master's, but I was fascinated by the idea of studying abroad. Like, it was very attractive to me. Uh, so, I like first of all, I didn't think that I could do it, but as I started reading more papers and I started getting deeper into research, I started seeing that it's not much of an unrealistic thing and I can probably do it. So it happened over time. Once I started working on this paper and this project with my friend, over time I started reading about different professors from different universities about their research. And then I got interested in it. And then I decided that I have to pursue research and I have to pursue higher education.
Right, right. So, Vaibhav, as you told that you already did the fast AI course, so that so you had idea of basics of ML and deep learning, and then once you started working on the research, which I know was under a professor, so then then the friend gave you more courses, and you completed those, and that's how you started gaining knowledge. So now this or like if you're talking about someone who's starting from scratch, so there's a lot of inertia as well as there's a lot of confusion. So, what, according to you, is the best way to start from scratch and maybe grow in this field?
Mhm. So I think different people approach the problem of learning differently. But personally, I think top-down approach works the best. So in top-down approach, you don't start with theory. You don't start with learning basics. You start with a project. Basically, suppose you want to get into machine learning and you have no idea how it works out. You just start reading some GitHub code, or you just start reading some pre-made code, and like when you first read it, you won't understand it, but over time, gradually, you'll start reading it in parts. And when you do that, you go into the depth of each part and you understand it. Like you start from the from the top, and then you go to the bottom to understand the smaller details. But one very important advice before starting out with machine learning and AI, or even like pursuing research and masters, is that you should first like gain some experience in programming, because it's computer science, and research can be mathematical, but in most cases I'll assume that you'll be doing practical research, and for that you need some programming experience. So machine learning, or I think any form of research, comes later. First is clearing your basics in like some, at least the basics of data structures and algorithms, and at least having a command over one programming language. So like you shouldn't skip the steps. You should start with a programming language. For me, it was Python. It's a very easy language to learn. It will hardly take you a few months. You should do some projects in Python. So again, to learn Python too, you should follow a top-down approach. Instead of reading the documentations of Python and watching some video tutorials, I would suggest you just jump into a project and you start doing it. You just start the install Python and you just run the Python interpreter and you just start typing things. So first master a programming language and then come to like rest of the things, and just follow a top-down approach. That I think that works the best for me, at least.
Yeah, even I agree. So I've tried both the things, that watching tutorials, and because while watching tutorials you have no direction. While working on a project, you know you need to go in this direction, and as you're working you have some deliverable. So you're seeing that you're making progress, and you can see the tangible, not tangible, but you can see your product. So it kind of motivates you and gives you a direction. So I think that works best for me as
Yes.
well.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like when you're working on projects and there's something you don't understand, then you go to tutorial, not the other way
Right.
around. So like most of the tutorials, they are well segregated into smaller topics. So you can start watching from the middle, and anything you don't understand, you select what you want to watch instead of you watch everything.
Right. And if I'll ask you, like, what according, if you have to just choose one course, so which according to you is the best machine learning or deep learning course, that if even if someone wants to start with the tutorial, which one would be the best course?
Um, I would say, like, for beginners, I think some people say Andrew Ng's deep learning course is great, but personally, I think Fast AI is the best course that I have ever done. Because just
Okay.
after the first lecture, you will be like you'll be creating your first model in the first lecture within an hour,
Right.
and I think it is a very practical course, and it will help you. It won't teach you like it gets into the basics of things. It won't teach you like mathematics and everything, but it will at least help you stand on your feet. It will at least let you have fun with machine learning, and it's very practical. And you'll be introduced. One of the best things of fast AI courses, you'll be introduced to good programming methods while doing machine learning, and you'll be introduced to Kaggle. And Kaggle is one of the best resource you can have for practical machine learning and applied AI.
Right. Right. So I'll just maybe we give some really excellent points. I'll just add them here.
Mhm.
Okay. So now once someone has gained some experience and practical knowledge, the next thing that usually happens is that people dive into research, and the best way is to approach some professor and do some meaningful research under them. So like what according to you is the best way to approach a professor, considering you do not have the research experience beforehand? You're just beginning right now your research. I mean, you're beginning with your research, so like how to approach.
So approaching professor, the best advice I can give is that you should write very personalized emails to professor. First of all, you shouldn't approach a professor on LinkedIn or any other place. You should always approach a professor through email, and you should write a very personalized email to the professor. So before approaching a professor, you should read about his or her research, and you should you should have a genuine interest in in the professor's research. And the best emails, I think, are the ones that try to build up on the professor's previous research. So it would be something like you read one of his or her paper, and you either implemented it, or you either pointed out a mistake, or you either point mistakes are rare, but you either pointed out something you think that could have been done better,
Right.
or anything. You just need to write something related to their previous research, and maybe propose something that you could do with it in future. I know it's difficult to propose research on your own, but at least write something about the previous research. So be as verbose and as personalized as you can be. I mean, don't go on to writing 2 3 pages of email, but write concisely, write professionally, and be sure to write good grammar and correct English. And just, I mean, show the professor that you genuinely want to work with them because you are interested in their work. And before approaching professor, you need to show the professor that you have some programming experience. So if a professor hires you, he or she will hire you for your programming skills, because you clearly don't have any research skills. You'll be hired as probably like an intern who'll be writing code. So the previous steps, which I told you, doing some courses and having some projects, that will help you a lot. So mention those courses, mention that, for example, if you're approaching a professor for CV, computer vision, showcase that you worked on computer vision, you implemented some paper, you used these models, and write a very personalized email. And don't take it personally if the professor does not reply, because they are very busy. So the key is to email as many professors as you can, but don't spam it. Write separate emails for every professor, and just write to as many professors as you can. And and that's all. Just don't spam them. Don't write multiple emails to a single professor, and if they don't reply, just move on. Write the next email.
Right. Sure. Thanks a lot, Weber. So I guess that was really helpful. So with this, we can move on to the next part, I guess. So once we have started with our research, we know we want to do MS. So comes the application part. So now we know that research is one thing that is required. So what other are the compulsory requirements when you're applying, and what kind of weightage does it hold? So I know you might not know the exact weightage because that is something not disclosed, I guess. But what, according to you, is the priority order given while a university is deciding whether they want to select this candidate or not?
Yeah, sure. So far we have already talked about research, but at this point I would like to clarify that there are in general two types of master's program. One is research intensive, mostly thesis, you write a thesis there, and the other is course based. So for
Okay.
course based program, you don't really need research experience. They value your programming skills or your industry experience more. For the other masters, that is thesis based or research intensive programs, you need to do research. Now, this segregation is not always very explicit. Sometimes it will be explicit. Universities will say Master of Science versus Master of Applied Science. Applied Science would be course based, and Master of Science would be research based. But other times it would just be MS, and you will have to do your own research. That does this university prefer course based applicants or the research based applicants? So that is up to you. So for I've applied for research based masters only. So for research based master, I think the most important, okay, first of all, i'm I'll be kind of like ranking the things that matter in your application, and these ranks are heavily influenced by what I read during one of the survey that was performed by LTI, that is Language Technology Institute, CMU. So I'm not sure if I can share the results, but in that survey, a lot of PhD students were asked that, PhD and master students were asked that what was the most important part of their application. So after reading that and after my own experience, I would say the most important thing in a master's application is your LOR, your letter of recommendation. That matters a lot because academia is a very close, a tightly knit community. So if you have an LOR from a professor who has either worked under who has worked with a professor from the university you're applying at, or the students of that professor has applied have applied to that university. In that case, your LOR from that professor would be very valuable. So basically, you need to have some kind of connection between where you're applying and where you have worked. So if you can start working, if you have time, try to achieve good LORs. Uh, Other thing is that being in India, it is not very easy to get such LORs. So I mean, I understand it's difficult. So other thing you can do, and a very important thing you can do, is gain good publications. And by good publication, I mean publications in either A-star conferences like AAAI, NeurIPS, ICML, HKI, and all of these, or good journals. Uh, and even one good paper in such A-star conferences or journals would be much more valuable than 10 or even 15 uh, papers in not like unknown i- i- conferences. So
Right. Right.
you'll know that like it's easy to publish papers in no-name conferences, and that would actually that would actually reduce the weight of your application. Please don't do that. Try to do quality research. Even if you write one paper in 2 years, and that one paper is published in an A-star conference, and you don't even have to be the first author. Like everyone understands you are an undergraduate student, and you don't have much research experience. You just need to be part of the group that worked on this, and just having one good publication is very good. If you have more, that is like it's just great. Your profile is very valuable. So publications are the second most important thing. After this, I would say grades are the most important thing at the third number. You don't need to worry too much about it if you're late, but if you're not late, you should start improving your grades, because you're going to study. Yeah, you're applying for studying, and they want to see that how was your past studying record. So it's obvious that they give value to your grades. After
Right.
grades, I would say it's a statement of purpose. The you should not. A lot of people waste a lot of time on writing SOP. You should just like start writing it early and spend maybe 10-15 minutes every day instead of writing it in bursts, maybe at the end. So don't think too much about it, because you'll always hate your SOP in the end. That will always happen, but just try to express yourself and read other SOPs to understand what matters. And after this, what matters is your profile, like your CV, your blogs, your website, maybe your LinkedIn. And finally, I think one of the least important things are GRE, at least for the research-based applications. Like for example, in my applications, I didn't even submit my GRE because of the COVID thing. It wasn't a requirement, but even if it was a requirement, it's usually nothing serious. You just score something above 310 or 315, and that is good enough. It doesn't matter. Your GRE doesn't really matter much if you're applying to good universities. And same is for your IELTS or TOEFL score. You just have to score good enough to show that you can speak and write and listen and understand English. So these standardized tests aren't as important as they are often shown to be. So most important is LOR, then their publications, then the grades, then SOP, then your profile, and finally I would say GRE and IELTS.
Right. And just to clarify, I mean, I think it's really great if you can find some kind of a connection in the LOR, but I guess, Weber, correct me if I'm wrong. So even if you have, so as you said, it might be a little difficult for getting that type of working under that type of professors in India. But even, I mean, there are some really, really good professors out there, and even and their experience is really great, their publications, their citations. So even if you could get an LOR from a great professor that shows that that goes out to show that you work in a place, you actually have some really good experience, you have learned things, and I think that would also be really valuable as a LOR.
Yes, yes, I didn't mention it, but yeah, it's like the profile of the professor also matters. If the professor has good research and basically the connection part was something not so, I shouldn't have said it like it's a necessary thing. Just a good quality professor
Right.
and a good lab matters a lot. So there are many good professors in India. You can apply under. I think you should do your own research within your subfield. By connection, just connection of the same field is even good. So, for example, if you are applying to, let's say, you're applying to UCLA for NLP, like I did. So, if you have the LOR of a professor from your own country or any country who works in NLP, then that would be more valuable than a professor who works in CV. So this is also kind of a connection that matters.
Right.
And yeah, so basically, like you need LORs of the professors who have good publications and who have a good record of writing quality papers.
Yeah, and like as relevant as possible to what you are applying for or what you're planning to do.
Yes, yes, and also like the university or the lab of the professor, of course, also matters. So a professor from IIT is like an LOR from IIT is like very valuable to everyone, I would say.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so we discussed the requirements. I guess we covered pretty much everything there. So now, after we're done with everything, so what exactly is the application procedure? So what exactly are the steps as well as the timeline for the application procedure?
Before this, I just forgot to mention one more thing regarding LOR. That is, some professors won't know you very well, so they'll write a generic LOR for you, while some professors will know you well and they'll write a very personalized LOR for you. So
Right.
I would say try to build relation with the professor you're asking for an LOR so that they can write a personalized LOR. They can only do that if they know you for a while. So that is also important that your professor knows you well and writes you a personalized LOR instead of a generic LOR because that won't hold much value. Uh, yeah, and now to the application procedure. So I would say if can you repeat what you asking?
Yeah, I just if you could briefly explain the steps that are there in the application procedure as well as the timeline, general timeline.
Yeah, so general timeline is let's say you're applying for fall 2022. So for applying for fall 2022, you should start working on studying for GRE and IELTS as early as maybe January or February of 2021. And I would say just get done with these standardized tests as soon as you can. Prepare for them for a month or maybe 2 months and get done with them by August, not later than that, August of 2021. Now, this was the earliest step you could do. I mean, of course, you're also building a research profile that starts much earlier. After this, the actual application portal for fall 2022 will start sometimes as early as late September and sometimes as late as January 2022. And it will end, most of the deadlines for fall 2022 will be in December. Most of the deadlines will be December 15, 2021. Some will be in February 2022. So this is the general timeline. Like you almost need to be prepared 1 year earlier. And I would say only mostly apply for the fall intake, not the spring intake. And you should do your own research why, you'll find out. I would say mostly apply for fall intake. And Yeah, this is the general timeline. So you first give your standardized test, and then you start being vigilant from September of the previous year. And after doing this, in the application procedure, I think the most time-taking thing is writing your SOP. So you should start doing that as early as you can. If you're watching this video and you want to apply, maybe just write one version of SOP today, and you just do it iteratively.
Right.
Your personality keeps changing, your writing skills keep improving. So iteratively, just keep reading your SOP, keep writing, keep making changes, and start as early as you can, and just work on it regularly. SOP is not something that will happen 1 week or 2 weeks before application. You should just like write everything about yourself. And SOPs also need to be personalized for each program you're applying. So it's not like you'll write one SOP and then that would work for all of the universities. That's not the case. Of course, you can use some parts of it, but still you need to personalize it. So start working on your SOP a few months before the deadline start, and the rest all the things are easy. You just fill the application form. It won't take more than maybe half an hour or 1 hour, and then you pay the application fee, and then you just hope you get an admit. So
Right.
yeah.
So I mean, there are so many colleges out there, and it's not practically possible to fill each and every application. And people like have to decide because the application are costly as well. So if money is a factor for some people, so they might even have to skip some good colleges as well. So what exactly is the way or the criteria for deciding which college you should apply for?
Yeah, so there are actually two factors that stop us from applying to maybe brute force the colleges, apply to infinite colleges. So one is money, the application process is expensive, and the other is LOR.
Right.
So if your professor is not a machine, he or she won't give you infinite LORs. So you have a limited resource here. So you need to choose wisely that which universities you are applying to. So what people usually do is that they apply to around like 6 to 12 university. Personally, I applied to five this in this year, but usually people apply to up to 12, maybe higher, 15, as much as you can afford, both money wise and LOR wise. So it's a like there is a chance, there is randomness always involved, and the only way to mitigate randomness is to apply as much as you can. So do that. There's no there's no like, it's not about honor or anything, just apply as much as you can. And for deciding colleges, what usually people do is that they divide their applications into three parts. So one is safe applications, that are safe universities that you believe you can get in. Other are moderate ones, and the third are ambitious ones. So this is what you need to decide. It's a game of risk. You can either be highly risky, just apply to all the ambitious universities. You get one admit, you're happy, or you can play a little safe, apply to some safer universities, some moderate. This is up to you. This is up to like this is your personal decision. Personally, I think you should always apply more towards ambitious ones and not apply to any university which you won't want to go. Think of it this way: like if none, if you have, if you're deciding to apply to a university, then think of it this way: that this is the only option you have. Then would you like to go here?
Okay.
So be very careful. Some universities are notorious for being cash cows. That means they'll offer admit to subpar applications, but they'll cost you a lot of money. I won't name any such universities. You should do your own research, but be aware of that. Some universities are very, very selective. Like they'll hardly take 5 or 10 students. So maybe applying there is not your it's not worth it. But if you feel like you have a good profile, you should definitely do it. You should, if you're ambitious, you should do it. Uh, Other than this, this was like the logistics of it. But in general, a university should be decided on the basis of the professors and the department. So in your profile, you will be showing that in your SOP, you will be writing that why you want to join that university, and that should come naturally. You should have a natural interest in the research or in the professors or the department's research at that university, and that is how you should select a university. Your first criteria should always be that does this university have research or programs that align with your own interests. The
Right.
second should be the general prestige of the university, and third should be the finances. So sometimes universities are very expensive and maybe you cannot afford them. So beware of that. But I would say, like, if it's a good universities, money is usually never a problem. We can come to that later. But like, first is that, does the university research align with your interests? Number two, are the professors accepting the students, and is the how prestigious the university is? You can do your own research. You should first of all not believe in the rankings provided by these private companies like Times ranking and all of this.
Right.
You should yeah. And I don't think these are very like QS ranking and Times ranking. This is, I don't think this is not a good representative of a university's prestige. Instead, what you should do is you should go to a website called CS Rankings, and there you can see the publications by each universities and the professors and how active that university is for a particular field. So it's very well divided, not only in machine learning AI, it also has like operating system research, networking research, quantum computing research, and everything. You should go to that website. You should see that which university is doing the most research in what in the fields of your interest, and then apply there.
Right. So I think to summarize, it boils down to how aligned the university is and how excited you are to work with the professors and in their labs.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Right. Right. Sure. I think we covered pretty much everything here. So So now moving to the last part, I guess, which is the most exciting part. So once you've got your admits and everything, you've decided which college you want to join. So what are the remaining requirements or important formalities that need to be done before you actually go to the States?
Okay. So this is after getting the admit, right?
Right. Right.
So I'm personally myself in this phase. So if I if I give you some wrong information, please don't quote me on that. But in general, once you accept a university's offer, like, first of all, congratulations, you got into a university.
Definitely.
And over here you will have hopefully you'll have multiple offers. So please, sometimes people accept multiple offers and then after accepting they leave the others. I think it's a little unethical. Sometimes universities take, like, won't even allow you to do it. But in general, you should accept one program, and once you've accepted it, you should stick to it. After that, the formalities are, the most important thing is that you should first of all get a passport if you don't have it, because you would need it for your visa. And the first thing is that some universities require you to show a minimum funding before you can join. So for example, I am accepting the offer from UCLA. So they need a funding source of $55,000 before they can give me I-20. So I-20 is a kind of a visa formality form that is given to you by the university, stating that you have the financial needs that you need for attending this university. So for University of California, you need to show sometimes some kind of fund that you have of $55,000. This can either be a personal funds or a bank loan or anything. I showed a sanction letter for loan. After getting your I-20, the next step is filling the DS-160 form for getting your F1 visa. So, like, first of all, you are a student and you will be studying there, so you need to apply for a visa, and the student visa is called the F1 visa.
Right.
And for applying for F1 visa, first step is getting the I-20 from the university, then filling the DS-160 form, and then getting an interview at the embassy. So I'm currently at this step. I'm because of COVID, the embassies are closed right now, but usually this should all be happen within a month or two.
Right.
And after after you've received your F1 visa, you can start packing, you can start shopping, and you can book your flight and everything. And that is, there are no limits to that.
Right.
That is up to you. You can do that yourself.
Right. So, one thing is that pursuing master's degree from USA is really expensive, though there's no doubt in that. I mean, by really expensive, I'm talking for myself. Like, if I say it's really expensive for me,
Mhm.
but so what? So now you have to pay the tuition fees and you have to live there and everything, food and all. So that cannot be mitigated. But like, what is the best way to manage your expenses there, or what are the other opportunities that you can take part in or use so that you can you can optimize your expenses as well as you can get some earnings to cut down on your expenses.
Yeah, so it is true. It will always be expensive to study in the US, but it will always also be worth it. So the generally it will cost you without any aid. It will cost you around 60 lakhs to well above 1 crore rupees for 2 years, and that is something not everyone can afford. So what you should do is while applying for masters, you can also apply for scholarships. So usually scholarships do not exist for international students. They are very rare, but some do. For example, the DeepMind scholarship. You should do your own research. Other scholarships exist. I personally did not apply for any of them, but you should. Uh, so scholarship is one way. Through scholarship, they'll either waive all your tuition fee or they'll waive the tuition fee plus give you some extra money, a monthly stipend. This is the best case scenario. Other is that some programs have funding for master student, and usually research based masters will provide you some kind of funding, but course based won't. So this funding comes either in the form of you working as a research assistant or as a teaching assistant. So in both of these cases, what will happen is that you will receive a monthly stipend, which will almost always at least cover your fee and also some of your expenses. Not always everything, but it will cover this much. In some universities, you are given a very good stipend, even for research. For all of these, I'm not naming any university. You should do your own research. But this is the only way I know of for now. Working as TA or RA, you're not allowed to work out of campus during your first year. After that, in the summers, you can of course take up some industrial internship, which will pay you very well. So that will also help you like mitigate some of the like extra costs you may incur. After that, you study for another year, try to get TA or RA-ship, and then finally you apply for a job and try to pay everything back. So this is how usually it goes. I'm personally, I think there might be other ways also that I might not be aware of. So you should always keep looking.
Right. So, like, I mean, to summarize, there are a lot of ways. So you can almost cover all your tuition fees or maybe some of the expenses as well, depending on the situation. And there are a lot of ways that this can happen while you're studying there.
Yeah, yeah. One thing I would like to mention is that don't get intimidated by the expensive masters, because this is what I did for past I think for past 2 years before my application. I
Right.
originally didn't even plan to apply to US. I planned to apply to Canada and to Europe, where you can get full funding for a research-based masters. But I mean, I received some admits from there, but I finally accepted the offer from the US because, like, US has the best research labs, generally speaking, and amount of opportunities.
Right.
And this country is expensive, but it also pays you. So you shouldn't get intimidated by all these expenses. You'll If you're getting into a good program, you'll just cover it somehow. It will happen automatically, because if you're getting into a good program, you are a smart person and you will cover up the expenses. If you're doing MS from some not so good university, then it will of course be very expensive for you, and you should plan accordingly. But for good programs, expenses is something you should not be worried about. It will just happen automatically.
Right.
Don't worry about it. If it's a good program, you can handle it. Don't be intimidated. Just focus on applying for now. That will come later.
Right. So it will always be worth it. So
Yeah,
that's the
it's
key point.
yeah, yeah.
Right. And what exactly is the timeline? So if I've applied for fall, if I got an admit for say fall 2021, so when exactly all these formalities happen and when the university usually start?
So if you have received an admit for fall 2021, you will receive this news most probably by January, February, or March of 2021. If you're lucky, even as early as December of previous year. But by March, I think you will be getting the news that either you got in or you were rejected, your application was rejected or accepted. And after
Right.
the application is accepted, you can start working out the formalities from March or April, May. You can start working on it, and the courses, the actual course start in sometimes it's different. So for some universities, it start on in early August.
Right.
sometimes in mid September. So August to September, the semester or the quarter for your university will start. So you have like good 4 or 5 months in between to plan everything out.
Right. Got it. So, I mean, that's all from my side. I mean, these were the questions that I planned for today, and I think we probably covered a whole lot of information. I mean, really, we went into details. Is there anything that I missed out, Weber? Is there anything you would like to add?
What people usually do is that they apply to, I didn't apply to any safe universities last year. And what people would do is that they would apply to some safe universities, and when they don't get into the moderate or their ambitious ones, they take admission in safe universities. I would suggest that instead stay back an year, work on a profile, do good quality research, do good projects, have some industry experience, and then apply next year. Like, this is masters, it's not, it's higher education, and you can never be too late for it. So it's always better to wait an year, and you'll see that your profile will improve dramatically. And this 1 year's wait would be worth it. And maybe this will also help you get a better direction in life, that if you truly want to pursue masters or not. If you just want to pursue it for the sake of getting better jobs, I think it is also possible that you stay back in India, work for 2 years, and then you'll see by comparing the lifestyle and everything that you could earn almost the similar amount here instead of pursuing masters. But if you truly want to do it and you don't get admitted into a good universities, don't fret. Just wait a year, do quality research, improve your profile, and then apply next year. You will surely get in next year.
Sure. That's some great advice. So great. I think we have reached the end. So thanks a lot, Vaibhav. I mean, thanks a lot for taking out time and sharing so much information. If we just missed out on anything, you can definitely go and mention in the comments. So we will try our best to answer your queries.
Yeah, sure. I hope this video helps someone. And if you have any doubts, maybe you can email me. During Turing can mention that in the video description. You can email me about it. I'll try to reply. And best of luck for your masters. Have fun, and that's all from me. Thank you.
Sure, I'll definitely, Vaibhav, I'll mention your ID in the description. So yeah, all the best, everyone. See you in the next video. Thank you.